till I see. Eat my breakfast in a haze.
Hi, my name's Nigel, and I am the singer and songwriter of the Plymouth, UK based indie funk band The Curve, and this is my podcast called Songs Nobody Asked Me For. Now, this is an introduction to part two, and I've done this because I redid the first part. And I redid the first part because I realised I was mumbling, even though I'm still talking quite quietly today because I'm trying not to disturb people. I also found that the content of that first episode was slightly inaccurate once I'd started doing the podcast because I've been racking a few parts. And also there was this very strange little sort of red dot that was all over me. I think slightly because of the sun was shining from the window behind me. And it was just reflecting on my phone, and so it looked like I had a sort of sniper after me or something like that. So in the end, I just thought I'm going to redo it. And then I watched the second episode, and I'm still mumbling, and I start the episode by talking all about this red dot, and of course I've changed the episode, so it's not on it anymore. And yeah, I don't know, I looked a bit awkward, and I kind of thought I'll redo it. Oh, the other strange thing is there's this weird clicking noise every now and then, like somebody really loudly clicking their fingers. I think it's my old phone. I don't know. I've got a different phone now. But, I don't know. So it was all a bit. And then I thought I'll redo this episode. And then I thought, oh, crikey, I'm going to end up doing this for the whole thing. And it removes some of its authenticity and the sort of naturalness of it. And the fact that you see me, in a sense, evolving, hopefully, slowly into slightly more confidence of doing this, really. And what I was talking about, I'd have to rethink it and find it again. And I didn't really want to do that. So in the end, I thought I'd put a little introduction in. So I'm sorry if I'm mumbling a little bit. And yeah, just play the original one, really. So I hope you enjoy it. And I hope it makes sense. And stick with me because I get more confident, more together, more sexy, all that stuff, I'm sure, Right, off you go and do enjoy the episode. And I will see you around. My name's Nigel. I am the singer and songwriter of the Plymouth-based indie funk band The Curve, and this is the second part of my blog. I've changed rooms, partly because I was enjoying sitting on the sofa, but I think the sun was sending this little dot around, which made it look like some sniper after me was kind of hovering around here for the entire thing. So I thought maybe try somewhere different. This is where I work sometimes, and I call it the music room, but it's kind of kind of a study as well. Yeah, it was. I enjoyed doing the first part. It was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I'm hoping that over time I can relax a bit and sort of be in the moment. Please do subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. It'd really be helpful to me. I think today I'm planning to sort of talk just a little bit about my first gig, really. So you've got to go back to me being 17. I was born and raised in Harold Wood in Essex. Shout out to Harold Wood. Great place to grow up, really nice. And went to school, first of all in Harold Wood, and then secondary school I went to a school called St Edward's C of E Comprehensive, as it was then. It's probably something else now, which was kind of right at the other side of Romford, so long journey, used to get trains and walk and miles and miles. That was where I got my first band together with my best friend, oldest, dearest friend, Pav, who also played guitar. He used to live around the corner from me in Harold Wood. We used to get together and play bits and pieces together, try and play songs together. And you have to put yourself in a different world, really. So, I have three sons, and each of them has dabbled with bands in different ways, and their schools had 2, 3, 4, 5 bands. Everybody was in a band, but that wasn't the case when I was at school. We were the band once we set up at school, which made it difficult. But also, I think for me, as quite a shy person, made it it was useful. Because I think if there'd been 4 or 5 other bands, they'd have all been very cool, and I would have been very intimidated by it. But the fact that we set up a band was novel and different, and at the time meant that it gave me a tiny little bit of kudos, which I kind of wouldn't have had otherwise. So I think that really helped. Um, we had no equipment to speak of, and I think I probably need to talk about equipment because maybe it's people who like equipment. I don't know. I'd learned classical guitar when I was 6. I mean, that sounds amazing, but there was little, twiddly bits of it from a school teacher who'd spent time in Argentina and had learned the classical guitar and loved it, and to give everybody lessons at school for free in the lunchtime. So from there, progressed, moved on to other types of guitar playing, and I then got my own way. At some point when I was about 15, I wanted an electric guitar, and didn't have the money. And back then there were these things called mail order catalogues, and the most famous one of those would have been Littlewoods. But we didn't have Littlewoods, we had a thing called Burlington. And in it was a massive, big, chunky, thick book with loads of products and everything you could possibly imagine. As kids at Christmas, we loved it because full of toys, and essentially, if you wanted something in it, you wanted to buy a guitar from it. There were guitars in there, which is amazing, really. And you could either pay the full amount or you could pay over a period of time, and you'd pay a little bit more, but you'd pay every week. So I bought my guitar on, I think it's called HP, hire purchase, almost like, so paying a little bit each week. And it was called a Hondo 2, and it was a Les Paul copy. So, I looked like, somebody like Steve Hackett, maybe with an amazing Les Paul in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. And I loved it. I really wish I still had it. Sold it at a car boot sale when we were short of cash. I've been in the East End. I sold it, but really regret it. But had this guitar, had no amplification, and my late dad, bless him, had been a telecommunications engineer, and he had a patch in the East End of London, and he was changing the PA system at West Ham football ground. And the old one was being thrown out, so he gave me this old PA system. It took both of us to carry it in. It was so heavy, and it was like about 3 or 4 watts in volume power. I had these old speakers. I think they were stereo speakers. I was the quietest electric guitar player there could possibly be, which probably made my neighbours very happy. But for me, no, I'm nothing like that. That comes later. So this is what I have. The music teacher at school was really, really supportive. So we talked about the idea we'd like to get a band set up. And his name was Ian Claydon. Nice guy. I hope he's still around in some form or another. And he just took us out to music shops, said, I'll buy you some equipment. So we bought a guitar amp and a couple of guitar amps and stands and that, although it's really embarrassing because, we had to act as if we knew what we were talking about. I had a clue. So I don't know what amps we bought. The only thing I remember is, I've got a boom mic stand here, obviously, because, so you could have your guitar and then you've got the stand coming to you. They offered us those, and I said, oh, no, I want those sort of upright ones. So we had these sort of upright, like vocal mics, which were always getting in the way when you were trying to play guitar. But, it makes me laugh now. I had no clue. So rule number 1 for me sits here probably today. Know when you don't know something and find out about it, before you try and do it. And I say that because, nowadays it's so bloody easy, isn't it? We played a gig a while back where we were going to have to do the mixing desk ourselves, and I was able to YouTube that particular mixing desk and look at how it worked and also, but nothing like that then. So it's so small, the mic stand, but, I should have just said, well, I'm not really sure. What do you think's best? But I didn't. Rule number 1. Anyway, we get together, we start practicing in the music department. And even then we were both writing songs. So, really awful songs, but we had, the first gig we did was in a school concert, which kind of it was just random, really. There were the 2 of us. The music teacher was trying to find us a drummer, and bearing in mind we're both 17, the only drummer he could find in the whole school was a first year, so a guy who was about 11 or 12, and named Tim. He was a lovely guy, and he wasn't bad. He was quite a good drummer, but he would drift. So very often he would drift off in his own little world, and I'd have to, sometimes when we were playing songs, I'd have to sort of be sideways onto him to keep eye contact, so I could kind of keep him moving, keep him in the right time. Yeah, that was hard work. But he was nice lad. And then we had another guy called David, who was our friend, who played the keyboard. Um, not very well, but he was keen to be part of it. And the main thing I remember him, he's very tall and very slim, had red hair, and whenever we played a gig, which were very few, his dad was a vicar, and he used to nick all of the cassocks and everything that he used to, whatever they call those things, and always used to wear those. He looked very strange when he was on stage. Well, none of us looked great on stage. So school concert, first gig. I started this thinking, oh, I had a really weird first gig, and I kind of figured that maybe everybody's first gig is weird. It'd be interesting if anybody is watching this, put in the comments something about your first gig. What was it like? Where did you play? I'm guessing a few people have remarkable, wonderful places and things they do, but ours was a school concert, and our school was very into its amateur dramatics. So we were on this set bill with the school jazz band, the school orchestra, and the school operatic society that used to do these Gilbert and Sullivan operas, which are kind of like light sort of musical type of operas, and a variety of poetry readings. and there was us, and the audience were parents and proud parents, and all the teachers mainly. I'll never forget it. It's kind of it's a thing I've seen once or twice in my career where you start playing and there are people cringing while you're playing. And maybe if I was a different type of 17-year-old, I'd have enjoyed that really. But I vaguely remember sort of wanting the ground to open up around me really. I've got a picture of us playing, and I'm going to put that on now. And as you can see in this picture, this is a picture of me and a picture of Pav, and there is a picture of Tim in the middle. I am sporting makeup, and later on I used to wear a little cravat as well, and as Pav did as well. Yeah, we were pretty snappy. The things I most remember about that gig were that we played three songs. We played one of Pav's, one of mine, and we played a song called "I Wish This Night Would Never End" by Sad Cafe. Sad Cafe had a really big hit with a song called "Every Day Hurts," which I really liked, and this was the B-side. I'm going to put it down. I'll put a link to the Spotify track down there. And we played these three songs. I broke three strings in the first song, in the first two or three lines of the first song. Tip number 2 for today: make sure your equipment works and it's okay. I'd never even heard of getting my guitar set or even trying to work out to get it set. And I think because I broke a lot of strings on that guitar, I still have the guitar. Look, oh no, that's the wrong guitar, isn't it? I was going to show you a guitar, but it's the wrong guitar. I didn't have that guitar then. No. We'll come to that another time. But the guitar wasn't set, I think. So sometimes that can lead to, you breaking strings at a certain position on the thing. 3 strings: the E, the B, and the G. Bing, bing, bing. So I had to play the whole set with 3 strings. And that was a strength for me because I think what I learned was, to just carry on. We didn't stop. We just carried on. We just kind of thought, well, okay, this is what we got to do. Pav was playing the guitar as well. So that kind of worked out that, you didn't really notice it so much. And we got through with lots of cringing parents and headmasters and teachers. I remember the headmaster in particular looking very scorning at us of what on earth have we let these lads do this for. Yeah, it's quite funny really. And that was the launch of us, the beginning of us, because we sounded dreadful. We had no idea of how to work on sound, how to sort of moderate that between us or for where we were really. And I don't think I ever learned that until later on, when Pav and I got back together with our second band, but we'll talk about that another time. The name of our band was the Deluded Romantics, very, very sort of late 70s. The one thing that kept us going, I think, at that time was our friends and the people in the sixth form, because we were in the sixth form at that time doing A-levels, and they really liked us, and they were into the fact that they had a band in school, and although, as I say, I think we sounded pretty dreadful, they supported us. So no aspirations to do this or anything, just thinking, oh, this is great, I'm enjoying this, and really beginning to get the bug. And interesting that right from that very beginning, I wrote a song, and I think my strength back then was in melody rather than words. And if I can find it, I might See whether I feel brave enough to show it, but show you the lyrics. But it was really bad, really bad. Yeah, I think that's probably about all I've got to say today on that. The Deluded Romantics, first gig, 3 songs, sounded awful, but we got through it. And we felt quite chuffed with ourselves afterwards that we got through it. Yeah, the next gig we played was in a junior school where somebody for some reason asked us to go and play in this junior school, and we played 4 songs then, and sounded just as bad. I wrote 2 strings in that, and then the guys used to call me Stringless afterwards, which stuck throughout the whole time I was in Essex and London. And the nice thing about that gig was, again, we sounded awful, but all the little kids were dancing through the whole thing. So it kind of made us feel pretty good that happened. But I won't say much more about that, but I'm kind of living in hope that if I feel confident enough doing this or beginning to do this, I'm going to ask Pav to maybe join me on one of these. And maybe 1 or 2 of the guys from the Curve later on. But maybe in the next 3 or 4, if I'm getting in a role here, going to see whether Pav will maybe come and talk. And we could talk about those experiences. And certainly, I think I'll do that when we talk about, I went away, I came back, and we set up a proper band that we were kind of gigging with. And still lots of problems and dilemmas and weirdness in that. So, yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, do stick with me. This is new and I'm trying to sort of work this out. I play in the Curve. I write songs for the Curve, and I love writing songs. Do check us out on Spotify. You can find us on #MusicTheCurve. Please subscribe to this channel and put any comments you want to. Say hello. Yeah, and I'll be back. See you soon. Bye.
Hey, still I wear